So this lecture is on professionalism. It's not linked directly to being a history major, though these are things I have learned about in terms of advice from working with history majors. And of course, these are things I learned being a history major and then becoming a professor of history. So I do think it is still useful. And this is an opportunity for me to kind of tell you things that wouldn't come out in just like a typical class, but that can help you as you work through college and hopefully into a career that you will like. So, one thing about the reason people go to university is it's kind of practice for the professional world, right? That's kind of the idea, right? Um, you know, going to class is kind of like going to work. Doing your homework outside of class, that's like doing the reports that the boss might ask you to do, things like that. So even though sometimes the content of a particular course might not be directly connected to what you want to do for a living, just going through the course helps you to develop skills that will help you in the professional world. Now, I chose this picture on purpose, and it's kind of interesting. If you do a Google search on college students or something like that, you'll get a lot of pictures like this where you have these young, attractive, diverse group of students doing something, having fun together. And that's kind of the image that is used in a sense to sell college. But a lot of times your classes may be more like this, right? You'll have this person in the front has fallen asleep. The woman next to him, I mean, she doesn't have a note. She's not taking notes or anything. Other people are distracted by that student or are just distracted by other things. Very few people seem to actually be paying attention to what's going on with the professor. And you've probably had classes like this. And, you have the kind of, what can I say, the ideal and then the reality. And the fact is that the same thing kind of happens in the professional world as well. There, you will probably have to sit through boring classes and at least pretend to pay attention. And you're going to have to sit through boring meetings when you get a job and have to pretend to pay attention. I have to attend a lot of meetings, and meetings are important. I don't want to say they're not. Meetings are very important, but no one looks forward to them, right? It's sort of like going to the doctors to get a vaccination. I don't really want a shot, but I know that it is necessary, and it's the same thing with meeting. So university is, in a way, a practice for the professional world, and a lot of times the professional world is not fun, right? There's a lot of things that are not fun about the professional world, as illustrated by these people here. And so, like I said, a large part of this class and other classes, in a sense, it's meant to be hard. All the reading and writing things I want you to do for this class, it's meant to be hard to get you ready to get that job you want. And a way also to think about this is I kind of made a fake want ad, right? And asked, are there want ads like this? Wanted, will pay high salary and provide good benefits for someone in the field of, and you put your dream job name here. The candidate who will be hired should either show up late for work or not at all, should slack off when at work, should only do any actual work when under direct supervision, and what little work is submitted should be late and of poor quality. Candidates who are disruptive, disrespectful, and who can distract others from doing their jobs are especially encouraged to apply. You've probably worked with someone like this and you hated doing it. We may call that person toxic. And the thing is, the way that we do work, the way that we act at work, the way we act at class is usually something about our character. It's habits that we have developed by constant repetition, right? So if your basic attitude is, what's the least amount of work I can do and get by? You're not really going to be a very professional person. You're probably going to have a hard time getting a job or a job you will like, and you'll have a hard time getting promoted at it, right? And like I said, there's a connection here. Like I said, should only do any actual work when under direct supervision. In a class like this, where there are writing assignments that you're expected to do, but I'm not leaning over you all the time, you have to kind of do them on your own. And the idea is the higher level the class gets, the more you're expected to do on your own, the less the professor should be doing. And it's not because we're lazy. It's because whoever does the most work learns the most, but also because it's meant to get you into that habit of working on your own. Because a boss does not want to waste their time making sure you do your job correctly. They should be able to depend on you to do your job and do it well. This is a much more realistic one ad. Wanted, will pay high salary and provide good benefits for someone in the field of insert name of your dream job here. The candidate who will be hired should be punctual, work hard, and do excellent work unsupervised. Candidates who are team players and work well with others are especially encouraged to apply. And I know this can seem like a lot, and you're just like, I mean, some people are just kind of the attitude like, well, that's not cool. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to be like that person who's there on time. I'm going to be fashionably late or whatever. And I can tell you, people hate that person in a professional environment, right? I always hate being in a meeting. I get there on time, and then the meeting starts 10 minutes late because someone waltzes in at the last minute with their Starbucks coffee, and it's clear that they were waiting in line at Starbucks rather than being on time for the meeting, right? They put their coffee ahead of everyone else, right? They're like, you all got to wait for me because I got to get this Starbucks coffee, right? And it's very frustrating, and I don't want to work with someone like that, but you know, sometimes you're kind of stuck doing that. My point here is this, right? When you want if you want a good job and you want to be promoted, you want to keep that job, you want to add value to the company by being professional, right? You want to be the person that's like, oh, we can't do without that person. We need that person here. That person keeps this company going, or business, or whatever it is. You don't want to be that person that's like, oh, that person's expendable. No one really likes them because they make everyone else's life difficult, right? So it's annoying to have to act like this. I don't want to be on time. I'd much rather just do what I want, show up whenever. I want to be lazy. I don't really want to do much work, but if I want to get a job and keep it, that's what I have to do. Now, why? Well, there are competition for jobs. And it's kind of hard for me to say this because I like to emphasize, you know, we're all in this together. We all need to work hard. But you're competing with other people. You're competing with your classmates for jobs, right? This happens for people trying to become professors. We usually know and are often friends with the people who are applying for the same jobs as us. And, you know, you want that job, right? You want to respect your friend, but you want that job. You got to figure out a way to be ahead of them. And so it just comes down to this, right? If you have two people that are applying for a job and one has good grades, one has bad grades. One has references to say, oh yes, that person's always punctual. They're great to be around. They work hard. And the other person's like, well, they sometimes turned in their work when I asked them to several times. Who's going to get the job? Right. So it's not simply like, hey, you know, I got my degree. Where's my job? It's like, okay, well, what did you do when you were getting the degree? Right? Did you work hard? Did you favorably impress your professors? Did you get awards? Did you do internships? Did you go that extra mile? And doing that helps you put you up there in competition. I'm not saying it guarantees anything, but it makes you more competitive. So you just got to think about that. It's not that university is like a magic wand or something that's going to get you a job. It's what you do with it. So that's kind of just a general overview. I want to talk about some more specific things. So first of all, in terms of professionalism, you want to treat university like a career if you want a career when you are done, right? Take this seriously. I'm not saying never have fun. You should totally have fun in university. That's part of the point. People still have fun even after they get jobs in the professional world. But you also have to still maintain your work. If the fun comes first and your grades go down and you don't come to class and you don't turn in your work, well, what can we do? Right? Don't do things that might get you fired. I want to stress, you're building habits. Every time we do something, it becomes a little bit easier to do it the next time, right? You know, it may be really hard to get up early and exercise for the first few times you do it, but after you get used to doing it, it's easy. On the other hand, sleeping in, once you get in the habit of doing it, is also really easy. So think about it. Why are professors, why do we care about things about like students being on time? Why do we care about them attending class? Part of it is just, you know, that's how you do well in the class. You have to be there to learn the material, right? It's disruptive when you come late. But if you don't show up to work, or if you're consistently late to work, like I have students that are consistently 5 minutes late. It's like, look, this is an easy problem to fix. You need to start 5 minutes earlier, right? But they won't do it. But those are the kinds of things that could get you in trouble, right? Not turning in work. If you're constantly late turning in reports or turning in the work your boss gives you, that messes up everything. You're probably going to be on tight deadlines. And if you don't make them, oh my gosh, that causes a lot of trouble. So you think about those things that professors are getting on your case about. It's not simply because of what it does for the class. It's what it does after college, right? This is meant to help you be professional. The reverse is do things that would help you retain your job and be promoted. Be that student that everyone wants in their class. That doesn't mean that doesn't necessarily mean an A student, but it means to be that student like, hey, that's someone who makes the class better by being there, right? Be on time, turn in your work, show up, right? And one thing I want to point out, and one thing that you learn from teaching, it's interesting to listen to students talk before a class. And I'm not trying to it's not like I'm trying to eavesdrop. It's just when someone's talking loudly before a class, I can't help but hear them. And I've noticed multiple times that students who talk about the television shows they watch, especially if they talk about binge watching, they're not usually doing a good job in terms of professionalism. Those are usually people who are not showing up, turning in work late or not at all, being late, that kind of thing. Now, I'm not sure which comes first. I don't know the exact relationship. But if you find yourself binge watching a lot, if you find yourself doing things that aren't really connected to any kind of work and is distracting you from your work, you're developing habits that are going to hurt you later on, right? And I'm not saying don't ever do those things. It's just, it's okay to do that stuff once you get the work done, right? That's kind of the idea. And here's the other thing, it's too, that I really want to stress, and I talked about this in the other video. Remember, I mentioned how, my first year at teaching at Lander, my wife became ill, had 2 small children, and was extremely busy from teaching. I did not complain to anyone, especially not at work, about that. I never made an excuse. I always made my classes, never had to cancel class because of that. I made sure everything got done because I knew that was key to me keeping my job. That if I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, my wife's sick, I can't, I got to take a couple weeks off, then I maybe would have lost my job. I mean, that's just the way things go. That's just the way things are. So if you're always making excuses for being late, not turning in work, you got to fix that. Because in the end, what's going to happen is that can lose you your job. And it can make getting promoted difficult. Right? Of course, sometimes there's things that happen. I did the one time in my life when I canceled class because of, there were 2 times. One was because my wife had just given birth and was still in the hospital. And I had planned, I didn't actually cancel class. Another professor filled in for me. And I had made a plan. I got a documentary and discussion ready for him. So that worked out okay. The other time was when my father had a seizure and had to be in the hospital for several days, in which case I organized things online. I'm not trying to boast, but my point is you want to make sure you get your job done, right? No excuses, get it done. You get in that habit of getting your job done, no matter what your difficulties are, then you'll be fine when it comes to looking for a career. Now I want to stress, sometimes that just can't be helped. I've had a student whose, mother or father passed away. Obviously they need a little bit extra time. That's fine. But I'm talking about consistently all the time, people making excuses for not getting things done. And related to this, I really want to stress is the idea of developing the habit of forming good relationships and professional relationships. So previously I talked about how this idea about how the people you associate with, they can either really build you up or they can really bring you down. And, that's something you want to be cognizant of. Are these people I'm around, do they help me be a better person? Do they help me do my work done? Or are they distracting me and causing me all sorts of problems, right? You want to stay away from them if they're doing that. One thing I want to stress, in the professional world, you have relationships with people that you may not necessarily like and that you may not want to even associate with, but you still need to have a professional relationship with them. You are still working for the same organization. So here at Lander, we're working for the good of the institution, the good of our students. So there might be people who, it's not like there's someone I actively dislike, but there's people that I would not care about going out and having fun with them because we're just very different people. And I'm sure that some people see me the same way, or a lot of people may see me that way. I don't know. But the point is, we have to have a good working relationship where we help each other out, where they need help to get something done for the good of the students, the good of the institution. I help them. And then I can turn around and ask them for help. So it's very key that we learn to work together in a professional way. And that means doing your part. It means recognizing that people help you, and then you have to turn around and help them back when they need it. Now, I'm not saying do something wrong. I'm not saying, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I'm not saying that. Let me give you a couple concrete examples to make it a little bit more clear. So, for example, this here is Professor Michael Jerryson. He was at Eckerd College when I first went to work there, and he really went out of his way to help me. Like, he did all these things to help me. He was really wonderful. And he's the kind of person who would help me no matter what. But later on, he needed my help with some various research he was doing, with some editing. And I immediately helped him. That was a professional relationship. We also became friends, but that was a professional relationship where we took care of each other. He helped me with my teaching a lot. When he needed me to help with research, I instantly helped him. Similarly, this is me and Bunny. You may remember from another lecture I talked about Bunny. Again, I was in a situation, and shows us how this is really important. It's a long story. I was working from home. There was a fact I needed from a book that I did not have access to at home, and it would have taken me several hours to get access to it. I don't want to go into the details. It was just difficult to get to the book. So I asked Bunny. I emailed her and said, I'm looking for this information. Do you happen to have this book? And within 2 hours, she got back to me and said, here it is. Here's the information. Wonderful person. A few months later, I was asked by her university to give an external review of her because she's up for tenure, which is very important for getting to keep your job, basically. I won't go into that here. But basically, I was being asked to give my opinion whether or not they should continue to employ her, whether or not they should keep her or not, and whether they should give her a raise or not. And wasn't it great that I was able to bring up, when I reviewed her, that concrete example of her helping me out? Right? And then this is Dr. Cho. He was my advisor when I was in Korea. He was very, very helpful to me. Really did a lot to help me with my work, provided me with an area to do research in, funds to do research, opportunities to present my work. And several times he's asked me to help students of his with usually with translating English or something like that. And I've always gladly done it. Now, why am I bringing all this up? When I was in college, I had a car. If you have a car, you know that it's expensive. Not only do you have to buy the car, you have to pay for gas, you have to pay insurance, you have to pay all those things. Lots of people, I gave rides. I gave rides to people all the time. Not only did people not chip in money to give me gas or to, not did they ever, offer to give me, buy me lunch or anything like that. They complained if I ever asked them to do that. It's like, I've been driving you around a lot, hours and hours. Could you, chip in a few bucks for gas? And it's like, oh my gosh, how could you ask me to do that? You're not a friend. It's like, well, you would be nice if you would do something back for me, right? Isn't that what friends do? And when I was a PhD student, one of my friends, he constantly had people asking him for rides, and they would never do anything in return. And I remember we didn't have a car when I was in Vancouver, and we had to go to drive to, I think it was Bellingham, Washington, to get my wife her green card, or no, Social Security card. And we asked a friend to drive us because we didn't have a car. And he was very nice, took a whole day to drive us down. We paid for his gas and we bought him lunch. And that wasn't much when you consider what he did for us, because this took his whole day. But he was so thankful because he's like, you're the only ones that ever thank me. I'm driving everyone everywhere and no one bothers. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is silly. So my point is, there are lots of people who are users, who their attitude is to treat people like a means to an end. They don't see people as people. They see people as money, as cars, as whatever. And you don't want to be that kind of person. Being that kind of person, not only is it wrong, it also makes it difficult to succeed in life, to get a job and be promoted in that job. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but it does make it more difficult. You want to be someone who's considerate. You want to be someone who people want on their team. You want to be someone who thinks of other people. And I have to tell you kind of a negative story how this messes up things. Isn't this a beautiful image? This is at the Academy of Korean Studies. I was invited there in the fall one year as part of a conference, a workshop, and they paid for me to go and they gave me money. And what's really interesting in Korea, when they give you research money, any money you don't spend, they just let you keep, right? So, they basically gave me a free trip to Korea, gave me money to do research, and then I got to keep some of that money. And it was wonderful. It was really great. Look, just beautiful. And, the organizer, this man here, really did his best to take care of us. When we was there, he took us all around. He bought us food. He really took good care of us, gave us a tour. And I've known this guy for a long time. Wonderful human being, just a really kind person, a great scholar. And he brought us all together. It was really a neat idea. Basically, what happened was in the 19th century in Korea, in an effort to force Korea to open its doors, a German adventurer and a French priest decided that they would steal the bones of the Korean king's grandfather and hold them for ransom to force Korea to open its doors and to trade, and to stop persecuting Catholics. And the guy who bankrolled this expedition was an American from South Carolina. He was born in Charleston. So I was basically, it was kind of an international conference. This is my friend Pierre Emmanuel. He was asked to do research on the French priest. I did research on the South Carolinian, and we all came together and presented these very different perspectives on this incident. So it was really cool. It was really a brilliant idea. This guy did a wonderful job taking care of us. But you'll notice I have up there that heading, no good deed goes unpunished. So here's what happened. This guy gave us all this money. Among the people who presented, only two of the people never turned in a paper, right? We were all supposed to turn in papers. That was the deal. Two people didn't do it. Why is that a problem? Because the people who funded him were very upset by that. They give you money, they expect results. So these people took the money, they took the free trip, they took all the good things, but they could not bring themselves to write a paper. And so they totally messed with my friend. And now it's going to be difficult for him to get any money to do further research. And they still haven't published our papers. They were nice. They let me publish mine elsewhere in English. It was also translated into Korean, but the Korean version has not been published. So, this man here really did a great thing to help people out. And people were willing to take from him but not give, and it really messed up his life. So please do not do that. So I want to give you some more concrete details because this is like the one chance I can kind of do this. I want to talk a little bit about email and office etiquette. So first of all, even if a professor's door is open or unlocked, it's always good to knock and wait to be let in. Like I've had students just open my door and come in, which freaks the heck out of me because my back is to the door, right? So, usually now I keep it locked and closed, but that's something important to note. Please do not ask, are you busy? I'm always confused by that question because what the student wants to know is, can I talk to you? I don't want to say, no, I'm not busy, because it gives the impression that I'm not busy when I'm in fact crazy busy, right? What's better is to say, do you have a moment? That's much better, right? Don't say, are you busy? Because the answer is always yes. But I'm not so busy I can't see you, right? It's better to say, do you have a moment? Now, email's like a big thing with me, and I want to talk a little bit about email. But first of all, did you know that your professors, we get reviewed, we get evaluated? Like every year, it used to be the dean, but now it's the chair. We have several bosses. Will sit down with us and talk to us about our evaluations and how we're doing. So for example, in your student evaluations, you know how you fill those things out? We go over those. So those things are taken very seriously. So what was interesting was once when I had my evaluation, my evaluator, who helps determine whether I get to keep my job or whether I get a raise or whatever, said, you know what? I really want to thank you for always responding so quickly to my emails and for giving me the information I request. That's how he started off my evaluation. Isn't that nice? That's a great way to start off a performance evaluation. So one thing I find very frustrating is students often do not check email and they do not respond to email. And that's frustrating for me, but also it's not good for students because you're getting in a bad habit. You want to make sure to respond to email. The reason students often give is, well, I get too many. You're going to get a lot more as time goes on. So it's better just to deal with it. So one way to prevent yourself from being overwhelmed by emails, is check email at least once a day, even during the summer. Sometimes I have an opportunity that will come up over the summer, and I will email students about the opportunity. I'll get crickets, and it's like, well, I have to give this to someone else. And they'll get email, hey, is that still open? It's like, no, I gave it to someone else because you weren't checking email. You didn't respond, so I had to give it to someone else. So you want to check email at least once a day, even during the summer. That will prevent you from getting overwhelmed. If you ask a question and receive an answer, you should always say thank you. I cannot stress this enough. I will have students ask me a question, especially about advising. It may take me 15 or 20 minutes to answer that question. That may seem like a lot, but when you're dealing with over 100 students, you just need a few of those each day, and you're on the email for several hours. So I'll have someone ask me a rather complex question, and I'll get back to them sometimes within just a couple hours, and then crickets. I don't hear anything. And they'll get another question from them. How quickly do you think I'm going to answer that question? How much am I going to prioritize them? This person doesn't even bother to say thank you. Am I going to respond to them, or am I going to do something else that also needs to be done? Right? You got to think about this. When you email a professor or your boss, they've got a lot of other things that they need to do. Why should they prioritize you? Why should your email come before all the many other things they have to do? Right? So just with human psychology, and please don't think I'm some kind of vengeful person who's sitting around thinking, well, that person didn't respond to me, I'm not going to respond to them right away. I don't think that way. But my point is, you want to make it easy for people to respond to you so that when you need help, you'll get it quickly. If a student, it's like, the student who always is thank you, is always polite, asks me for help, it's just a natural human thing that they're probably going to get their response more quickly. On the other hand, the student who will go weeks without responding to my email, but then all of a sudden wants me to write them right away. I'm a busy person. I've got lots of things to do. Your boss will also be busy too. If you receive help, you should always say thank you. I cannot emphasize that enough. So to give you a concrete example, I will often, when I can, check to make sure students registered for the correct classes. Right? So after registration, I'll go through my advisees when I can and see, did they actually choose the classes they need? And sometimes I'll catch someone who didn't. They made a mistake. And I'll email them and say, please, there's an issue. You want to fix this. So sometimes I'll do that, and I'll notice that the person changed their schedule, but they never thanked me. And it's like, wow, I just saved you so much trouble. If you ended up in the wrong class and I didn't tell you, you could have wasted a class. You could have wasted part of your semester doing a class you didn't need. That could have cost you money, not just your time. And you can't take 10 seconds to respond, thank you, right? I cannot stress this enough. When you ask a question, receive an answer, say thank you. It takes you 10 or 15 seconds. If you receive help, you should always say thank you. Again, just takes 10 or 15 seconds, and your phone and your computer say thank you. This is very important because when you're polite, it shows that you're not self-centered. It shows you're a team player. It shows that you respect others, right? If you're impolite or rude, people say, oh, I can't trust that person. That person is self-centered. They just think of themselves. Remember, professional relationships involve a give and a take. When you don't answer emails, when you don't say thank you, what you're signaling to people is, I really don't care about other people. And I don't mean care in this kind of, kumbaya way. I mean like care is in a professional way, is in like, okay, this person's not going to help me do my work. This person's not going to make my job easier. Okay, I'm not going to be able to give them a very good recommendation or any recommendation. When it comes time for scholarships, they're low on the list. And I'm not saying this to threaten anyone. My point is here, this is my opportunity to tell people directly, work on these things because it will help you. Even if you don't care, even if you're like, yeah, I am self-centered, I don't care. At least learn to act like you care and do a good job. Like I said, politeness signals consideration for others. And considerate people are likely to be team players. They're willing to work together to keep the business or the institution, wherever it is, running. Very important. Okay, almost done. So I need to also talk a little bit about letters of reference, because some of you will come to me or another professor and ask for a letter of reference. So first of all, there's no obligation to be a reference. I'll have people put me down as a reference without asking me. Never do that. Never, ever do that. Always get permission, because I'm under no obligation to give a reference. And here's the thing. I will never give a bad reference. If I would give a bad reference, I will refuse to be a reference. So I've had times where a student has said, would you be a reference for me? And I'll say, no, I can't, because of this reasons. And I'm not trying to be a jerk, but the point is I'd much rather be direct and tell them that than to say, yeah, I'll be a reference. Okay. Hey, people that you want to give this person a job, don't hire this person, right? I don't want to do that. But I'm also not going to be a liar. I'm not going to be dishonest. So always get permission first. Contact the professor when there's still plenty of time to write the letter, right? Don't come to me and say, I need a letter by tomorrow. Now, if you were just informed of the opportunity, you could tell me, I'm sorry, I was just told about this opportunity. And then, okay, that's fine. But, we'll have opportunities people known about for months. And then they email me and it's like, you need to write this letter for me right now. I've waited for 3 months to apply, but I'm just now telling you that you need to write this letter for me. Okay, great. Yeah. What kind of letter can I write for someone like that? Right? Sorry, I get a little emotional because all these things I'm talking about from experience, right? And I'm just like, what are these people thinking? And my goal here is to say, well, try and get through to people. So you want to contact your professors or anyone while there's still plenty of time for them to actually write the letter. You need to do the work. I'll sometimes have someone ask me, can you write this letter? I'm like, yeah, sure. Can you give me the information? Like, oh, it's all on the website. Oh no, I'm not getting on that website to find the information. That's your job, right? You need to tell me when the letter is due. You need to tell me the format. You need to tell me who I contact. Usually when someone asks me to write a letter, I'll ask them to give me a list of their grades, because I don't have any easy way to check all the grades of the classes the person has taken with me, right? I want to be able to say, this person took these 3 classes with me. They got all A's, but I don't have that information handy. I need to ask you to do it. So I want to stress, when you do the letter, the work is on you, right? You need to be the one that gives me all the information, that gives me the forms I need. That's not for me to do. That's for you to do. And you got to think about this. When you get all that information I need, that gives me one more thing I can brag about you for. If you're not accepted, you don't need to inform me that if you apply for university or you apply for a job and you don't get it, you don't need to tell me that you didn't get it. But if you are accepted, you need to tell your people who wrote you your letters right away. That's like the very first thing you do. I cannot stress that enough. As soon as you find out you get that job, you immediately contact your references, because you do not want them to hear about it secondhand. I've had that happen. I was really mad at the student. It's like, I took time. I'm very busy. I took time to write you this letter, and you get the job, and you can't even be bothered to say thank you when I helped you get a job, help you make money, right? Some of this like I said, it makes it sound like we're jerks, but your professors and your bosses were human beings. We want to be recognized when we help someone, especially when we're very busy. When we help someone, we would like to be recognized. And when I recommend someone, I am putting my reputation on the line. I'm saying, I think this is a good person. And they're saying, okay, we trust you. We accept your recommendation. And if the person doesn't live up to that, I look bad. Right? So, like I said, I hope this is helpful. These things can be difficult. It's all about self-discipline. It's about working hard and things like that. Being polite is not easy. It involves patience. But if you can do these things, you're much more likely to thrive in a professional environment, to get the job you want, and to get promoted in it. And if I seem kind of frustrated and annoyed, I mean, that's true. I am. But I'm telling you these things because if you do them, I want you to fix it so you have a better chance of getting that job you want.